Every 2 days, we as a society create more information than we have since the dawn of humankind up until 2003. Whether we like it or not, we live in an extremely fast-paced world that is becoming exponentially more complex by the day. The unfortunate part is that some people and systems get left in the dust. This seems to be the case for the United States patent system. Entities determined to work the system appeared as soon as they saw an opportunity arise. With a generous approval process and a lack of regulation where it counts, the United States Patent and Trademark Office is an easy target for so-called patent trolls, patent thieves, and international copycats. The USPTO is long overdue to update their processes and policies. After examining the pros and cons along with the social, ethical, legal, and global implications, I believe the following updates will cut down on exploitation of the current system. New regulations and time restrictions will cut down on trolls and thieves, while international legislation will help with hindering international copycats. In order to understand how these trolls and other bad players could have possibly came about, we must explore and examine the history of the U.S. patent system. The U.S. patent system is almost as old as the country itself, being that George Washington signed the first law regarding patents in 1790. This bill laid the foundation for the current patent system, and for the first time in the U.S., a law gave the protections and rights to inventors and their creations. Originally, the patent laws required each proposal to be read and reviewed before a patent could be granted, but that changed in 1793 when the requirements changed from a thorough review process to requiring the individual or organization to just swear that they invented a new and useful technology or idea. Morgan Sherwood wrote, "The law of 1793 invited abuse by putting applicants on their honor." The flaws in this law were quickly realized and overturned, and the standard was reestablished. Members of a board again reviewed patents coming in for approval. This still is seen to be a very flawed process, and many argue that the US PTO has been very generous since the reestablishment of this process and has pushed patents through that are unlawful as well as unneeded. So now that we have a little history, what are the pros and cons of the current system? Well, the pros, there's no doubt that the patent system is essential for fostering innovation. It awards those coming up with innovative creations with a temporary monopoly in order for them to benefit from their inventions. This puts the ball in the inventor's court, so to speak, to go out and make money through their creations. It also provides incentive to create new technologies and ideas in place of an explicit reward system. The cons, well, many argue that the current approval process is too generous. It's also argued that there's too little regulation where it counts, allowing for patent trolls and corporate thieves to take full advantage. The current system also does not provide any international protection, which allows for international copycats to benefit from innovations they do not take part in creating. So who are these bad entities that I'm speaking of? Well, there are many, but the most common you hear of today is the patent troll. They are essentially shell companies that buy up patents to use as legal weapons. They seek massive settlements by threatening lengthy and costly litigation. This scare tactic often works with individuals or small organizations that cannot afford the time or money spent in this manner and do not fight it. Unfortunately, we're seeing a rise in these trolls and bad players. This seems to be because of the increasing technology sector in the US and around the world. Software patents are some of the most abused today. Along with trolls, patent thieves, often in the form of large corporations, have been known to infringe on protections of an issued patent if they know an individual or small organization cannot afford a long legal battle. They are comfortable with doing this because it is uncommon for the US government to take action as well. Another abuser of the limitations of the US PTO is international copycat. With markets becoming more global by the day, those creating copycat tech are becoming more of an issue. This is because creation of a copycat technology can impede on an entity's ability to profit in a global market. China is infamous for being a hub for international copycats in not only the technology sector, but all sectors. One study found that China and Hong Kong amounted for more than 86% of all counterfeit goods seized in the US, EU, and Japan. So what are the consequences here? Are they acting legally? Ethically? What are some of the unintended consequences? Well, are the bad guys within the law? Yes and no. Some patent trolls and international copycats are technically within the law. Patent trolls legitimately own the patents that they are claiming to own and legitimately buy these patents. International copycats are also not subject to the US law to an extent. There is some international legislation. Corporate thieves and patent thieves, on the other hand, are outright breaking the law, but are willing to take the risk because penalties are not that severe. Many never see the court either because it can be long and costly for some. So some cases are lawful, but are they ethical? I'd say the majority of the cases are not, especially with trolling. The companies have no intention in ever developing anything that they own patents on. They are simply looking to intimidate and acquire settlements through extortion. Patent thieves and copycats are also very unethical because they are both essentially stealing, one explicitly and one implicitly. There are also many unintended consequences that arise with unethical behavior, including stealing and exploitation can be seen as a social norm. Undoubtedly, this is a negative in any society. As mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, there are some possible solutions. The first being increased regulations that target trolls and thieves. One such solution has been introduced in the Senate under the name of the Innovation Act.
I'm Congressman Bob Goodlatte, and I've introduced the Innovation Act. It's an ambitious bill aimed at protecting and promoting American innovation and intellectual property. Believe it or not, protecting intellectual property isn't a modern invention. In fact, it was so important to our founding fathers that they included patent protection in the Constitution. Unfortunately, patent trolling has been around almost as long. Just how dangerous can patent trolling be? To answer that, let's take a look at one of America's greatest innovators, Henry Ford, who brought us the affordable automobile. He was sued by a troll who claimed to have invented the automobile. After years of legal struggles, Ford prevailed and pushed the Model T into mass production, and the rest is history. But what if he hadn't won? It's simple, really. Paying off patent trolls increases the cost of doing business. Manufacturers pass that cost along to wholesalers. Wholesalers pass it along to retailers. And retailers pass it along to you, the consumer. And it's not just large corporations that are targeted. Startups and small businesses make up more than 50% of the defendants in patent troll lawsuits. In every place you shop, from grocery stores to restaurants, from online retailers to car dealerships, patent trolling takes money directly out of the pockets of hard-working Americans just like you. The Innovation Act will eliminate the abuses of our patent system by discouraging frivolous patent litigation. It will bring our patent laws up to date. Support the Innovation Act today. Together we can defeat patent trolling for good and bring American patent law into the 21st century. Want to learn more? Visit us online or follow us on Twitter. And don't forget to use the Innovation Act hashtag to get the latest information.
The Innovation Act, although noble, is a reactionary measure. One that may be preventative would be a time restriction. This solution will require entities that own patents to develop products within a certain time frame. This would essentially eliminate all shell companies from owning patents and not developing them. Lastly, in order to have an effect on international copycats, international legislation would have to be passed. There are already measures that have been taken in the majority of countries, but countries such as China still elude these regulations. Some sort of agreement would have to be met with China and other bad actors in order to effectively cut down on international copycats. In conclusion, the US patent system is a system with a long history, but is not obsolete. It just needs some updating. The current process allows bad actors such as patent trolls, corporate thieves or patent thieves, and international copycats to take advantage of its weak points. Solutions such as steeper penalties and regulations, time restrictions, and international legislation could rein in abuses on the system.